Hit record. Okay. Well, since that being said, let's just go through the visual real quick and then we'll talk about um everything else. Everybody can see this. Of course, I'm gonna send it to you, but let's do a quick review. All right. Freud. For some reason, I like Freud. He crazy. He is so crazy, especially him thinking that, the reason he stopped doing hypnosis is because he thought that all the females was falling in love with him when they were under the hypnosis. He crazy. So, so theories, of course, Freud was psychoanalytic, right? He had his five psychosexual stages. He was all about the sex. His five psychosexual stages, of course, was la- oral, anal, lasik, genital, and phallic. Well, anyway, here's a good way that you can remember it. For me, I like to use old age people because phallic's supposed to be right there, like grapes. Old age people like grapes. Old ass people like gold. All those are go. So of course he said in the oral stage, that's where a child or a person is trying to explore the world. Think about a baby putting things in their mouth, understanding I don't put this in my mouth, I don't like it. And also that's when the attachment to the mother, of course, where they get their food. So it's kind of instinct that they know, because I always wonder, how do a baby know that I'm supposed to suck here and I get something out of it? Because when I had my kids, I just I was like, okay, I'm gonna try breastfeeding, but do I need to teach them how to, first time I'll Baby, I put that baby on my breast and he just went to town. So I always remember that for the oral stage. Also, at this stage, the ego is developed according to Freud. Okay. The ego is developed and it comes with you. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense because your ego is you, right? That is also known as, somebody tell me, what principle? Come on, y'all know. Ego is the what
Pleasure,
principle?
pleasure.
No, ego. Remember reality. We're the
Oh, I'm
reality.
sorry. I was thinking id. Id is
Yep,
the
it
pleasure.
is a pleasure.
I'm
Hello.
sorry.
Then what's the super ego since you're here? Moral. That's our angel. That's the one to remind us you have morals. Okay? Your id is gonna say, have that drink, go home with him. Your super ego is gonna say, don't do that, you're not a slut. Okay? Your ego is the one that's in the middle that's balancing. Do I listen to my angel? Do I listen to the devil? Do I listen to my angel? Do I listen to the devil? Remember, your angel is your super ego. That's your moral. The id is the devil. That's your instinct. That's I want that piece of cake, I'm gonna eat it. And then after you eat it, your angel is gonna be like, you didn't need it. You did not need it. So that's how I remember those two. Freud also said that if you don't move past these stages, that you're fixated, right? So most people who's fixated at the oral stage, that's people who bite their nails. That's people who smoke cigarettes. That's people who have eating disorders. They always have to put something in their mouth. People that's chewing on things. Basically, he said the mother either took them off the pacifier too quick or they did not have enough food to eat or they were deprived food and things like that, okay? Then you have the anal stage. The anal stage goes from ages 1, maybe 2 to 3. That's potty training, right? So at the anal stage, Freud said if you're fixated at this stage, then you'll be an anal person, somebody who's stingy, somebody who would it's very what do you say? Because that's your control. People that's out of control, they got fixated at this stage, and that's the potty training stage. So maybe you were potty trained very harsh. are, and this is according to Freud, I would not take this with a grain of salt, but all of the problems, if a child was fixated, that's because it was the mama fault. That's what he said. Then you have phallic. What happens in the phallic stage? It's a whole bunch of things going on this stage. Somebody tell me, please.
Isn't that where the child is attracted to the opposite sex parent?
Yep, and what's that called?
I
Y'all know
wouldn't
I
say
am
I
going
wouldn't
to
say like Oedipus.
Oedipus. Is it the Oedipus
Yeah.
the
complex?
the Oedipus complex is when the boy is attracted to his mama.
Mama. Okay.
What is it called when the girl,
Oedipus and
Electra.
the Electra stage, and then
Electra. That's right.
what else happens at this stage with the Electra? Remember penis envy? Yeah, penis envy. It sounds weird because it's the girl
With
side,
the
right?
Electra and castration with the Oedipus complex.
Yes. The girl starts to realize she don't have the part her daddy have, and she starts to get into conflicts with her mom because her mom have her feet on her daddy, and that's her daddy, and things like that. Think about it. The kids are between 3 to 7 years old, so it's that moment that happened. But yes, the Oedipus is in the boys. That's when he's in love with his mother, according to Freud, and then Electra is the girls, and that's how most things happen between girls and their mothers and things, according to Freud. And if you're fixated at this stage, you are a sex addict, he said. You are promiscuous. You like to sleep around if you're fixated at this stage, according to Freud. And then they got the latency stage. What happens in the latency stage? And that's ages 6 to 12.
So they form relationships, basically, with their
Yep.
peers.
This is where they look for friends. And, they form, this is the only stage that is not sexual. The only stage that is not sexual. They form peers. They start looking to hang out with the boy. They trying to find a crew. Think about it. They are 6 to 12, especially that 7, 8, 9, 10, that age. They want their buddies. And then you got the genital, and that's from 12 on up. And that's when they start to like girls or start to like boys and all the things that go with that. Okay. These were the ego stages that we talked about. Remember the id, that's the devil telling you to do whatever. That's your impulses, that's your instincts. That's everything that you know you're not supposed to do, but you're gonna do it and you'll get over it, or I'll be all right in the morning and stuff like that. Superego, that's your moral principle. That's the angel that's telling you, please don't do that. You're gonna regret it in the morning. And then your ego is just like a seesaw. You're balancing, but the ego stay right here in the middle because that's you. This is your ego. I always say, because I'm a woman of God, I always say that's super ego. That's the Holy Spirit telling you, don't do it. And then of course the devil telling you do whatever. That's how I always remember it. Remember, Freud often utilized the Rorschach and the TAT. These are both mainly what I've been studying. It's subjective, but mainly they categorize it as a projective test. And Rowe used Rorschach test a lot. That's the ink block. That's that test where it's just black ink, but whatever you see, the figure that you see, say it's a black ink and I see a bat and somebody else might see an elephant. Well, apparently, if I see a bat, then I have a whole bunch of childhood traumas. And if she see an elephant, she had a good life or something. So that's what that is. And the TAT is like pictures, and you supposed to come up with a story to the picture. And however you come up with that story to that particular picture, it kind of describes how your life was. Remember, it's psychoanalytic, so they dive in real deep into your childhood memories and your unconscious. So those two tests. I see that all throughout all the the subjects. So I believe this is very important. Important. Then you have Erikson. It is very important to note that Erikson is the only one that talked about the entire lifespan. Erikson stages is psychosocial. However, he does have three stages that are psychosexual that, I mean, it's psychosocial, but it correlates with Freud's psychosexual. Somebody want to tell me what it means with the trust versus mistrust? Anybody?
Is that when
That's
the
basically like,
oh,
oh,
go ahead. Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say that's basically like where the development takes place of like if a baby can trust in its environment. So like say if a baby cries, kind of like what is the attentiveness to from that parent or that caregiver. So like
Exactly.
leave me like dirty or you're gonna change my diaper. So
I'm
yes.
hungry, you're gonna feed me.
Right.
Yes. In this stage, that's why they say, I know, like I'm gonna bring it back up to my kids around when you supposedly trying to stop them from being spoiled, that you just let them cry it out. I don't think that's a great idea, but I get it. Um, Basically saying if a child is in a crib, right, and they really need you, like they probably use, like you said, need their diaper change or need some food, and they just laying in there crying and nobody come and get them. That's when people start to develop, which is crazy because it's very early, but that's when they start to develop, do I trust people or do I not trust people? Because they always left me hanging, or I had to fend for myself. So the trust versus mistrust, it's very important to note that that trust versus mistrust is an infancy stage that only happen when like the first years. Okay. Um, can somebody tell me autonomy versus shame and doubt?
That's during the potty training stage, right?
Potty training. So if trust versus mistrust, one of the first stages, what stage of Freud would that be?
That would be the anal stage, right?
Trust versus mistrust, the
Oh,
first
trust
one.
versus mistrust is the
But
Oral.
you're right with
oral
the,
stage.
yeah.
I'm looking at the shame and doubt for
Yep, and
the
and
anal stage.
correct.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is that is the anal stage. Yes, that's toilet training, right?
Yes.
So that autonomy, the autonomy part of that would be the kid finally use the potty, and they have all kind of they're happy, right? I can put my big girl drawers on. I can put my underwear on. I got like a Barbie doll on there. I am potty training. That's when they come and call you and tell you look and things like that. And then I'm having a good time, and all of a sudden I boo-boo on myself. Then it's shame and doubt, right? So that's what that is. That's when the child learning how to be independent. I can do it, I can do it, all of that. And then they really can't do it, but they want to pour the milk. And you like, let me help you. No, I can do it. And then next thing you know, it's milk everywhere. And then they feel bad. That's all
That's
that
where I'm
is.
at currently right now with my 2-year-old. I feel every bit of
So you
that.
gonna always remember that stage, them. Um, and then you have initiative versus guilt. Somebody tell me about that one. Now remember, this is still a psychosexual stage, so which one would that be in Freud? We already did oral, anal. What's the next one?
This would be the phallic stage.
And what happened in the phallic stage? A whole bunch of sex, right?
Yes.
Body parts. They find out what this is. They found out that they have feeling. That's what this initiative versus guilt is. So 3 to 6 years old, they find out that has sensation. So they learn that it has sensation and they keep messing with it until the mama or your daddy or anybody walk in and say, don't do that. Then they're guilty. That's what this stage is about. Okay. For instance, like that phallic stage. the boy in love with his mom and say she's just holding him and hugging him and he starts to rub her breasts. And you say, don't do that. Guilt. That's what that stage is. Okay. And that happens between 3 to 6. Those top three stages, that's Erikson and Freud together. Okay. But Erikson expounded on it and he went further. Can somebody tell me about the industry versus inferiority?
I can do that one. So Dr. Pam did a video and I thought it was really cool how she kind of laid it out. So for that one, because it's number 4, I always think about like what was I made for. So like when it comes to industry, like what am I good at?
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that I'm good at? Whether it's, in my career field or from a kid standpoint, like a sport or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
like in like conflict of that,
What I'm not good at.
because I'm not good at that, like what makes me feel inadequate or
Right.
like not capable of doing.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because at this stage, I always think about my third grader. At this stage, I think about because the education part of me, these are your third, um, maybe second graders or whatever, but that third grader, he's trying to figure out what he's good at. If you really like school, then, and I'm only saying that because this gonna transfer into career. And I'm gonna tell you why. Right here, this will be the Ginsberg of fantasy, tentative reality thing when you understand what you're good for and what you like. If you know you didn't like school, you're not gonna be a teacher, right? So here is when they learning, like you said, am I good at this sport? If I'm not, that's okay. But when a kid is stuck at this stage and just think that they just not good at anything because nobody ever showed them or they never had the chance to see what they was really good at. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And then identity versus role confusion. Somebody hit me with that one. If not, that's okay. I can. That's teenagers. Think about teenagers. Lord, think about teenagers. That identity, they want to be like everybody else. Think about when you were a teenager. When I was a teenager, I think apple bottom jeans was in. Um, Britney Spears with the and Beyonce wore the pants around your hip and your G-string showed. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was in, and that people try to get that identity. This is how I look, I'm rocking this or whatever. And then you have the people, I don't know if I like girls, I don't know if I like boys, I like fat boys, I like snub boys, and things like that. So this is the stage where you are constantly trying to figure out what you like, who you like. Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Do you like this? Do you like that? You like your hair straight? You like your hair long? So this stage right here, if you see any question talking about, you know, confusion, identity confusion, or whatever, remember this is between ages 12 to 20. You're still trying to figure out who you are. Then you move to the next stage, intimacy versus isolation. This is middle adulthood. Right here, between 20 and 40, you should have found your lover. Are you looking for your lover? Are you have a great relationship with your friends? You have intimate relationships, or you're isolated. You're a loner. You don't want to hang with nobody. You don't like nobody. You're gonna be single forever. Things like that. That's what happened in this stage. I mean, this is early adulthood, and you'll see why. Generativity versus stagnation, that's middle adulthood. Around this time, your kids should be growing up. You should have already passed this and found a lover. You got married. Now it's time for you to have kids. Um, Around this time, you building your kids up to make sure the next generation is great. You and your career, you kind of talking to younger people and letting them know, you better, giving them some kind of wisdom and things like that, right? Or you stagnated. You you don't have no kids, and that's fine. Or the kids, they can do whatever, they grown. I don't need to do all this or whatever. And I got a job. I'm fine where I'm at. You don't want to go higher. You good. You stagnated. You just chilling. And then you get older and you have that integrity versus despair. That's when you're going to sit and reflect. If you did what you were supposed to do and you had a wonderful life, then you in integrity. But if you didn't do kind of what you want to do, and there's those people that's like, man, I could have been this. I should have did that. Then you at the despair part, right? Everybody get that? Am I on it for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Erikson's. And he say, in order to get to the next stage, you have to have already been past one of them. Either way it go, either you going positive or negative. Then you have Adlerian. That's Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler is psychoanalyst. He was with Freud. He broke away from Freud because he wasn't really with all that sexual stuff. So he's still considered a psychoanalyst. His therapy is Adlerian therapy. He focused a lot on your social. He's saying people should have that social connectedness to be able to be a productive person, like social interaction with people kind of make you who you are. He's the main one talk about that nature versus nurture, the heredity versus environment, that your environment basically shape you. And the experiences that you've gone through, that's why you become who you are. He also was the one to talk about the inferiority complex because a backstory about Adler. He was a sick child. He had like some kind of bone disease or something like that. So he wasn't ever able to like play with the other kids or hop the fences and do things that the other kids was doing. So he started to develop an inferiority complex. I'm not good at this. I'm never going to be good at that. So he expounded on that. So he have in between. Everybody can see. So it's the inferiority complex. Natural and logical consequences. Birth order is his thing. He talk about birth order. He talk about the oldest, the middle child, the youngest child, the only child, a foster child, all those things. He talk about it. Sibling rivalry, that most things, and that's the part of the social connectedness that he talked about. Early recollections is his thing. He had three major goals in Adlerian, and that's work progress, work success, intimacy, and contribute to society. He talked about wellness approach, being equal, that's social interests, and exploring and understanding goals, and then non-deterministic views of people and events. He's mainly known for Adlerian therapy, which is in group and is an individual. Um, yeah, that's Adler, which he do more, but yeah. Everybody okay with him? I'm not going too fast.
Yes. No, it's
Okay.
good.
Oh yeah, okay. And then Carl Jung. Carl Jung, he also was part of Freud. So it was those three. It was Freud, Adler, and Jung. They were psychoanalysts as well. So he is considered a psychoanalytic, you know what I'm trying to say, person. So the unconscious kind of belong to him too a little bit, but it's the collective unconscious. Basically, what that says is everyone collectively have some kind of unconscious thing going for themselves. So for him, that's why he created the archetypes to see who, I mean, so you can see what matches you, who you are, why you are the way that you are. And then he also have the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is like a personality kind of test. Anybody ever took the Myers-Briggs type indicator, the MBTI, to see if
Yeah.
you're an introvert, extrovert, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things? That's him. He created that. Now there is another test that's the same in that right there. Kind of it was created by somebody totally different, but it's 16 personalities in this, and then the other one is the 16 personality thing. But this will give you 16 personality types, okay? So here, these are how some of the questions are created. And after you answer the questions, it give you a code. And at the end, the code would be like a ENJT or something like that. And then that tells you you are an extrovert person, sensing, maybe you're a feeler, or you're judging. And he created that, okay? So that's Carl Jung. Any questions on him? We good. Then we have Gestalt, or just I say Gestalt. Most people say it however they say it. This is not an English word. I found a new love for this type of therapy. This is a psychotherapy. This all focused on unfinished business. Um, this is the whole being of a person. And something that's very interesting about Gestalt therapy, it's Fitz Pearl and his wife. So it's Mr. and Mrs. Pearls, actually. He focused on connectedness. Um, his main um his main technique is that empty chair. The empty chair is when someone get an opportunity to, like, say someone who is not really good at speaking with people, or have like where they're always fussing with somebody, or don't have no kind of social interaction with anyone, they're able to get that out or try to work out things. So for an example, if they have a problem with their mom and never was able to talk to their mom, or maybe their mom passed away, that they can use that chair and say their mom is in that chair and say whatever they want to say to that chair. So I think that's pretty cool. It talk about the wholeness of a person, um, bring them to awareness, self-aware, and then focus on the here and now. Now, every time I hear that, it's like here and now, here and now. Here's a different part of the here and now. For example, if a person come in and they basically have an anxiety attack, right? You want them to focus on the here and now. So you would have them focus on everything that's happening to them. Your heart is beating fast. Yes, my heart is beating fast. You're sitting in the chair. Yes, I'm sitting in the chair. What is that? What do you see? Grounding techniques. Give me 3 sounds. And that's just making them focus on the here and now, that you're here, you're not there, you're safe. And that's what Gestalt therapy is. And I'm starting to like it. Can you tell?
Right.
Working on that unfinished business. That's one of the main things here. So that's why he used that role play, the empty chair, and dream work, and all of those things. Because if you have unfinished business with somebody and that's what's causing you to remain where you are, then you need to work it out. And if we have to pull this empty chair for you to talk to this chair, or even if you have to do some kind of transference on me, say that I'm the mom and you tell me how you feel, and we can role play that way. That's what the self therapy is about. Sound good? Then you have existential. Those are the big questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? Like, I'm doing this job. I don't really like this job. What can I do to better myself? Right? In existential therapy, anxiety is okay. They want you to experience anxiety because they said that is normal, which Freud brought up the defense mechanisms. If your body know that you're in trouble, you automatically go through anxiety like it's normal, and then you're gonna put up a defense mechanism to protect yourself. So here in existential therapy, an existential therapist is fine. So it's Rollo May, Viktor Frankl, and of course, Viktor Frankl is a survival of the Holocaust. And his thing was he found himself trying to help other people during those times of tragedy, right? So he's a father of logotherapy. And that just means therapy through meaning. Okay. Yalom is one of these, and like I said, most of these people you will also see in group, or you'll see in career and all of those things, right? Anybody want to bring up something about an existential, something you know? This is isolation is one big thing in existential therapy too. It's basically saying at some point in time, a person is going to isolate themselves to become better. And I can understand that. Think about the times where you just reflect and you kind of don't want to be bothered with anybody, right? Like you going through a time where you need to figure out what am I going to do, that you isolate yourself. And it don't have to be for a long amount of time. Can somebody mute? Let me see. I can do it. Sorry. We still doing good? Because I know I'm just talking.
Brittany, can you help me with this one because on I think I be getting them confused. You know Thanatos and
Uh-huh.
and
The death or the life instinct?
yeah, that's kind of, am I mixing them up?
No, because this
Okay.
talk about death. It talk
Okay.
about, so basically what existential therapy talk about is if we understand that death is a thing, then we would do what we have to do to live in this present time, right? So
Okay.
accepting that eventually you will die. So what do I need to do here before I die? What's my
Gotcha.
purpose?
Gotcha. Okay.
Freedom. I'm free to make the decisions that I want to do. I'm gonna isolate myself until I get myself together. I don't need to go out with nobody right now. I need to get my life right, right?
I love that. Okay.
And that's what this it's the big questions. It's like, why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? And that's when we get in that position where we go and pray and say, Lord, please show me what do you want me to do? What's your will, not mine? And that's what existential is. You're trying to
And
figure
it's
out
so,
what am I?
and I'm sorry to cut you off,
No.
but it's so interesting because yesterday when I was like, because I do a lot of studying by myself, but one of the questions had one of the questions, no, we was in a group last night. We did 50 questions, and one of the questions was about the existential, and the answer was anxiety.
Yeah. And
The
here
answer was
anxiety is,
anxiety. If any,
yeah.
yeah.
Look, anxiety is a natural part of human experience. Experience it. Explore it. You're going through, like, anxiety is there for a reason. Why? Why am I anxious? Why am I breathing hard when I talk to this person? Why, when I pull up to this job, I get a headache? Right? What's the reason? It's trying to figure out what's the reason. Why, all the why questions. That's what existential. And Gestalt is more of a here and now, like this unfinished business. I'm not healed from being beat when I was a kid. I am not healed. So I need to realize I'm not healed from that process and I need to work through my unfinished business. So that's the difference between them two, if that makes sense.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Key concepts. What is that? Okay, if it's unconscious, conscious, they got to be a psychoanalytic person. But I know Freud do a lot of free association. That is also a projective test, or yes, a projective technique. Okay, dream analysis, manifestation of dreams, transference. What is transference?
When the client transferred their stuff to the counselor, and
And
then
transference can be positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A positive transference would be, like I said, if we're in Gestalt therapy and you have some unfinished business and you just think using an empty chair is just crazy. We could role play and I could be your mama. I could be the mom. You could be the child. Tell me what you want. What would you tell your mom? And that's positive. But if we doing therapy and for some reason you have some resistance and you kind of getting a little disrespectful with me, that means you see me as your mom, but you don't like me. It's something I'm doing that reminds you of somebody you don't like, and that's negative transference. What's countertransference?
Counselor. When the counselor is putting their stuff into their clients.
Uh-huh. And it can be, I don't like you. It can be, you remind me of somebody. It can be, I am sexually attracted to you. It can be anything that would hinder this therapeutic relationship. And if I'm having it, as a competent counselor, I need to be aware that I'm having it and I need to do whatever I need to do to fix it. And that means I would have to go find a supervisor. I would have to, go and get the help that I need to make sure I don't do anything to lose my license. Okay? Non-mephilistic, whatever. Do no harm. Then you got behavior therapy. Behavior therapy, who are my people?
Pavlov, B.F. Skinner,
And Watson.
Watson, yeah.
SWP. I
Yeah.
always tell my people like SWV, SWP.
Very
It would
good. I
be,
like that.
it's Skinner, Pavlov, but Watson is in it too. But Watson, nobody really used his stuff because he was crazy. Okay. Behavior therapy is used a lot in education. A lot in education, especially special education, but really in the classroom. Think about it. Think about anybody who was educated, even with your kids. If you do what you're supposed to do or you do something that I like, I'll give you a cookie. You did that right, you get a Skittle. I have treats, PBIS bucks. I have all these things. All of those are behavior techniques. We do all of these things. We just got to put a name to it. So behavior theorists, they say if it cannot be measured, they don't want nothing to do with it. That's how you can mark off answers to see if it's behavior. If you can't measure it, it is not a behavior. If it's nothing that I can't manipulate, then it is not behavior. Behavior therapists love, what is the behavior? You can come in here and tell me you have anxiety. I don't care. What are you doing? Well, I got to go back inside every 5 minutes to make sure I turned off the stove. And I'll leave the house and then I'll come back and I'm like, dang, I didn't cut it. And I'll come back like 5 times a day. That's what they worried about. Okay? If it can be tested, that's what they want. Pavlov, what did he do?
Pavlov was the one that rang the bell and the dog came to get the dog responded
Yes.
to the ringing of the bell. So that was the
And what's that
stimuli.
called? What's it called?
That's
What he was
classical
doing?
conditioning.
Classical conditioning. Also called responded. Remember. Classical conditioning, he was conditioning the dog to do what he wants to, but we can take it a step further. Think about this. He talked about, what is it? A conditioned stimuli, a conditioned response, an unconditioned stimuli, an unconditional response, right? So for an example, an unconditioned, let me see. Say I go to the hospital, right? Hospital is fine. I go to the hospital all the time. I am unconditioned about this because that's just something that I do. And I don't feel anything when I go to the hospital. I go to the hospital, it's fine. The response is me just going into the hospital, right? Now, somebody I know died. So the unconditional stimuli would be the hospital. The unconditional response would be I'm good. I mean, it's a hospital. Nothing happened to me in a hospital. So I'm not paired with anything. So that's a unconditioned situation. Now, if I have a conditioned situation, I go to the hospital, I have a family member in the hospital, and they die. So the conditioned stimuli would be the hospital, because now I can't stand hospitals. I would not go back into a hospital if it changed, gave me $1 million. I'm not going in there. I'm conditioned not to like the hospital no more. And why am I conditioned? Because my conditioned response is I hate hospitals because my grandma died in the hospital. So those two paired together, I have a conditioned response and a stimuli. I don't like hospitals anymore. Test anxiety. You go in to take the test the first time, I mean, you're fine. It's just a test, which is not true, everybody, but it's just a test. You go in there and you fail it. Now you got to go in there the second time. Now I got test anxiety because I might fail it again. You condition. And that's all he talked about. So he did it with dogs, right? The dog already know I'm gonna eat. When I see dog food, I'm gonna eat. He saw the dog food, he started drooling. He know it's time to eat. He got trained. You sit there until I ring a bell, then you eat. So that's all he was doing. And all that is like training kids. Like you sit in the chair, we have rules. You come, you sit. You don't just get up and throw trash away. You got to raise your hand. When you raise your hand, I will acknowledge you. You can go. Condition response. Y'all get it? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes. And that's responded. Why? Because they're responding to a conditioned response. All right. It's conditioned when something happened, but two things have to be paired in order for it to be conditioned. Now, I can't go to it's unconditioned if I go to the hospital, I'm fine, nothing happened to me. But if something happened to me, then I'm conditioned not to like hospitals. The dog knew I ate the food, and that's normal, but now I have to sit here and wait for a bell and then I can go. That's conditioned. At first it was unconditioned, now it's conditioned. I can't just run up to the food and eat it. Now I gotta wait until he put the bell. But if he add a light to the bell, that's higher order conditioning. Okay?
Okay,
He
so let
keep
me ask
adding
you
stuff
this.
to it. Yes.
So like I used to be okay with going to funerals. So I guess that would be considered unconditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Then when my grandmother passed away, I am traumatized. So that would be
Um,
considered conditioned. Okay, got you.
because you paired it together.
Okay, okay.
You was fine at first. It was unconditioned. It was an unconditioned stimuli, which was the hospital. It was an unconditioned response because nothing happened to you. Like it's just a hospital, right? So nothing was paired. But now
Okay.
you go to the hospital. Now you're conditioned to not like this stimuli. I don't like the hospital no more. Why? Because I'm traumatized. My grandma died. That's a conditioned response. I paired them together. That's what's happening.
I can remember that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Then you got B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning, also known as instrumental. Okay, he's instrumental. You could remember the I in Skinner, and for respondent, you just remember. How do I remember response? The dog. He responds to what? So responded. Um, of course, Skinner did, he was known for his experiment with the rats. Y'all ever heard of that? The Skinner box. It was a rat that he conditioned the rat to move a lever, and he knew that he was getting food or he was getting water or something like that. I can't remember. But he worked with rats. Just know he worked with rats. Um, Skinner is known for reinforcers. Anybody know what a reinforcer is?
Isn't that
Anybody?
when you reward, like if you reward your child money for chores, or you
Yep.
take away a
Is it like
chore because they're
regression?
doing something good?
Yes, you are trying to increase the likelihood of the behavior. So if I like that you are making good grades, I'm going to give you a reinforcer. Now, I can give you a positive reinforcer, or I can give you a negative reinforcer, okay? However, the positive or the negative reinforcer does not mean good or bad. They both mean good. Let me tell you why. A positive reinforcer. Here we go. My son has been studying. He's a good kid, but he's been studying his butt off. I know he's been studying, right? So because he's been studying and he made the A, and I like it, I want him to do it again. I gave him $5 extra on his allowance. I added something to him. I gave him something. So I'm positive. It's positive. I'm depositing. I gave him something. Okay. Now he made the A. And I love it. And I want him to continue to do it. So because he did that and he made that A, he don't have to take the trash out tonight. He hates taking the trash out anyway. So I'm going to take that away from him and give him a break. I took something away is negative. Both positive. Either I gave him more money or I took away something he didn't want to do anyway and it's still rewarding. Do you get it? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I don't like the behavior and I don't want him to do it again, that's when we go to punishment. Now, punishment is when I'm trying to stop a behavior. Okay. Now, a positive punishment, it is a positive and it's a negative punishment. A positive punishment would be I'm adding something to it, right? So if he talked back to his teacher, which he would never do because he know I'm crazy, but if he talked back to his teacher, I want it to stop. You don't do that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a butt whooping. All right? Positive punishment. Now, if I'm not into whooping my kids, I'm gonna add a negative punishment, which means I'm gonna take his phone away. That's a positive and a negative punishment. Get it? We
So
all good?
positive, we're adding. Negative,
Positive,
we're
we're
taking away.
adding. Negative, we're taking away. There you go.
Okay.
Now, positive reinforcement, I'm adding something to him. I'm giving him something he would like. Negative reinforcers, I'm taking away something he didn't want to do anyway and he would like it. Punishment, I'm trying to stop it, period. So either I'm going to add a whooping or I'm going to
Okay.
add punishment. Either or. I'm going to take your phone, I'm going to whoop your butt. So however you want to handle this. Okay? Then we got Albert Bandura, social. He is a social learning theorist, okay? Also with Albert Bandura, he did the Bobo dolls. It was a Bobo doll. He also said that people learn by people modeling certain things and by seeing things. So because people see all of this, they become who they are. For an example, he had this experiment with the Bobo dolls. And anybody heard about the experiment?
Yes.
Can you tell it?
That's where he had the two dolls, if I'm not mistaken, and a group of children saw the dolls get beat, so they were aggressive towards that doll, opposed to the opposite.
Yep. Yep. And then the other class teachers ignored the doll, didn't do anything with the doll. And those kids didn't do anything. So he said kids who watch aggressive things on TV, that's how they learn how to be aggressive. Kids who's in a home where mama and daddy fighting all the time, that's how they learn how to be aggressive. Kids who in a loving home, that's how they learn how to be loving. That's what Bandura is saying. It's a social learning theory that people learn from watching other people. He talked about vicarious learning. Vicarious learning is seeing somebody else do it, knowing that you can do it. Like for an example, when I go to the gym and I go to this class, and y'all, when I tell you it's some older ladies in there, but they are in shape, okay? So I be in there dying. But I can't die and they doing what they supposed to do. So by vicarious learning, I'm going to do it because they're doing it and they're older than me. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what he talk about when he's talking about vicarious learning. That you do when you see other people doing because you want to be great too. And that's what he said. All of that is all about social learning, self-advocacy. And that's where you get the vicarious learning, or you get motivation from people motivating you, giving you quotes and saying that either you get, hyped up by that or you get hyped up by certain things. But that's what he talked about, is the social part of it. He also goes all into careers with the social learning theory and everything. So it's good to know. Lazarus, this basic ID is very important. The basic ID goes as far as say it's a behavior therapy, and say the client came in and they're going through it. It's kind of like a REBT kind of deal, but here you're gonna basically take kind of like a mental status, but it's not a mental status exam, but you want to know the behavior, the activating response. You want to know tell them what's the sensation, what you hear, what you touch, what you see. Give me 3 sounds you hear. Things like that. Can you touch? Can you see? Can you taste? What are you imagining? Where's their cognition? What are they in a distortive thought, or are they kind of together? Are they on drugs? Not drugs like recreational drugs, which can be a thing, but are you on medications? What kind of medications are you taking? So you can see and evaluate the client as best as you can. And that's called multimodal therapy. Okay. It relies on the variety of therapeutic techniques to optimize treatment of mental disorders. Then you got Joseph Whoopi. I did not even know he is African. Okay. I learned that. That's pretty cool. He had a phobia of wolves. Something happened to him. He was somewhere, and I don't know where he was at, but he had a huge phobia of wolves. So because he had that phobia, he developed systematic desensitization. Anybody know about that? Can you explain systematic desensitization?
Isn't that EMDR? Didn't he create that?
That's one of the techniques, yes. No, it was a woman that created that. One day she was walking, her name is Elizabeth. She was walking and she started to recall traumatic events when her eyes went a certain way. So she created EMDR, but EMDR would be something we use for somebody with phobias. Perfect. That's a technique. With the systematic desensitization, it would be steps that you take. It's 5 steps that you take. And this is gradually introducing the client into their phobia. So, say I have a phobia with being in the dark. So we will start off first, the counselor would teach me relaxation techniques. Okay. We're going to start. I'm going to gradually introduce you into something, but this is how we're going to calm down when we start to talk about it. First, we can talk about being in the dark. Then I'm going to walk towards the light. Then I'm going to put my hand on the light. Tell me how you feeling. And we measure it with it's a scale called SUDS. Okay. We measure it and it goes from like 1 to 100. And you start to measure when the client reached like 70. And then you start asking them, okay, on a scale of such and such, where are we? Okay, I'm going to turn off the light. Okay, I'm going to just let the natural light come in. And the next thing you know, they're in the dark. That's systematic desensitization. It's happening in systems. But the first thing first, we're going to teach them a relaxation technique to make sure that the anxiety is leveled. But we can't start the full thing until we know they are at 70 on the scale. Got it? It is. It is a form of exposure therapy. Yes. All of it go together. It's weird. That's why I said once you in the whole phobia and all of that, this is to treat PTSD. The EDMR, the systematic desensitization, exposure therapy. Uh, I was gonna say flooding, but not so much, but kind of in the lines of it. But yes, all of this. So when they give you a scenario talking about PTSD, these are the techniques you would use to calm or to use with a person with PTSD. Perfect. Then you got Lorenz. He just talked about imprinting, that attachment is innate, that people are born with it, that they just know I need to follow. Think about him with the ducks. He did an experiment with the ducks, that the ducks did not just follow the mother duck. The ducks started to follow him. So he basically said it doesn't matter who it is, a kid or someone very young is innate. They just gonna follow what they see. That's all with him. Then you got cognitive development theories. Piaget. Somebody tell me about Piaget. He has four stages of development. Four stages of development, Piaget.
So the
Mhm.
sensoromotor stage, that's for like the babies when they're like, just kind of learning how to
Yep.
um move
Yep.
around.
That's
Um
also what? Trust versus mistrust, right?
yes.
Also oral, right?
Yes.
Sensor motor, they using all their senses. They putting dirt in their mouth and understand dirt is not food. It is
All
disgusting.
the objects, all the little all they little
Object.
toys and stuff like that. Yeah.
Object permanence is here. All of the, I mean, no, not in censoring. Object, yeah, object permanence is here. If I show a baby a ball and I hide it, they really believe it's gone, right? That's what they're learning how to crawl and touch things and know that this is sticky. And if you play peekaboo, they really believe you're gone. And then when they see you, they all happy and they so cute. This is the sensory motor stage. So it's always good to remember that it's a like an infancy stage. So when they ask questions about Piaget's stages of whatever, and the kid is doing this, what stage are they at? For sure, if they not putting nothing in their mouth and saying mama, they not at this stage. Then you got pre-operational stage. That's your 2-year-olds. That's me, 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 me. It's all about me. They egocentrism, all of that. Egocentric, it's all about me. The rain is following me. I don't know your point of view because I know what I'm talking about because it's me, it's mine, it's mine. That's what I think about. They start to realize that signs actually mean something. So when they see the golden M, they know that's McDonald's. I'm gonna get a burger. I'm gonna get some fries. They take they may take like a plate and start using it like I'm driving. The animals are real to them, animalistic. All that happens in the pre-operational stage. And then they move to concrete, which is that third grader, that second grader, or whatever, that they know. And I'll always remember this. Because if I give my 3-year-old, if I get, he's not even three, if I give my 4-year-old $5, but it's like just one, right? He think that if I give his brother $3, he have more than him. But really, you got more. You got $5. He only got $3, but it looked like it's more. He have not reached that concrete operational stage. We get it? I know most people like to use the cup going into a smaller cup, but that money is real life. I give him one $5 bill and I give my older son $3. My older son say, "You got more than me." And he's like, I only got one. And it's like, no, you really got five. But he don't know that yet because he haven't reached the concrete operational stage.
That reminds me of that the poem from Shel Silverstein called More that you used to read when you were little. The
Uh-huh.
kid who got the, the dollar and then he traded it for 4 quarters and
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
4 is more than, yeah. So,
It even remind me of a story in the Bible too. When he went and he was like, oh, he got more than me, only because he had the coins, but really he had more because, yeah, just like that. And then formal operational, that's the highest stage that he have, and that's when they can do abstract thinking. That's when I can tell somebody a a saying. For instance, if I tell y'all, if you lay down with fleas, if you lay down with dogs, you're gonna get up with fleas. You know what I'm talking about, right? You lay down with a female who sleeps around, you're gonna get up with whatever she got. At this stage, they are able to understand what I'm talking about. So the abstract thinking is great. I mean, it's 12 and up, so that's great. So most of the questions can lead you towards that. Then he talked about assimilation and accommodation. There's two different assimilations. There's assimilation that's in social diverse, that part, and then there's this. Assimilation, when he talked about schema, he's talking about right here, your thinking. So every time I say schema, I just do this because it's your mind, right? And what happens is he basically said in your schema, it's something that you already know. But for us, we're learning new information every single, like as we grow. For an example, in my schema, if I was 6 or 7 and I have my grandmother has a cat and I go to her house all the time because she have a cat and it's furry, right? And in my schema, I know this furry thing is a cat, right? So I go to my aunt's house and she have a dog and I say cat. I'm assimilating. This is similar to what I know in my schema that my grandma have a fuzzy thing that's a cat. So this got to be a cat too. It's not until your mom say, that's not a cat, that's a dog. Oh, that's a cat. This a dog. Then I have accommodation. I'm accommodating. The new information is saying, oh, I know. That's a dog. That's a cat. And that's all that is. Did we get it? I know it's a lot. We okay with it?
Yes.
Almost done. Then they have Coburg. Anybody know about Coburg?
He did the Heinz project, right?
Can you tell the story, please? Just so you can review it.
The word,
The story.
oh, the
You know?
story. So,
Uh-huh.
if I can remember right, the guy needed a medication that was going to save his wife's life, and the pharmacist charged like $2,000, so he went in and stole it.
Yep.
And just trying to figure out was that morally right or not.
Right. And who did he get to try to figure that out?
Wasn't it children?
Boys. It was just
Boys,
boys. It
okay.
was 10 boys. And he went and he brought the story to them and then he asked them, well, is he wrong? Because he was trying to get it for his wife, like, was that wrong for him to steal? Trying to see where their moral sense was. And I brought that up because somebody challenged him in that and say, well, you just did boys. What about the girls? And that's Carol Gilligan. That's her only thing. She just talked about the female part of his theory. But he did talk about the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. So what happens in the pre-conventional, first it's good to note he had 6 stages and 3 levels. Okay. 6 stages, 3 levels. In the first stage was pre-conventional. I mean, the first level was pre-conventional. This is where the kids would do anything not to get in trouble. Okay. Um, Everybody in the classroom and little Johnny, he's trying to make sure he don't get caught with everybody because the teacher said if y'all do what y'all supposed to do, everybody get a gold star. He want his gold star. So they're talking. I'm not gonna talk. Teacher, you see me? I'm not talking. So they do everything not to get in trouble. They do not want the consequence. Okay. Morally, I know I'm not supposed to be talking because I want my gold star. Then it moves to what can I get from you? Right? So, for an example, if Susie say she gonna give me a bag of, say she want my cookies, what you gonna give me? So basically being a little selfish, trying to see, okay, what you gonna give me? They say right here at the second stage is where the naive part lives. So those two, that's pre-conventional. Then you get to the conventional, that's law and order. That means when there's a stop sign, I'm gonna stop. That means I need everybody to see me as a good person. Okay? I'm not fighting. Y'all can do whatever y'all want to do. I'm not getting into that. And then it's going to move into I do everything by the law. I am not about to get any tickets. Remember, this is all about moral. So this is a person who is like morally together. Not me. Not around those ages. I was doing everything. But if there's a stop sign, I'm gonna stop because this is law and order. I'm gonna follow the law. Okay. Then you get to pre-conventional, and pre-conventional, he says that not everybody make it to pre-conventional because like the last stage, that's where Martin Luther King, that's people who changing their own thing. But right before that, those are people who's trying to make like those are your protesters and people who's trying to change the world, and doing whatever what's right. They have their own thing. They're constantly putting up all kinds of political things or whatever. And then the highest level would be the world changers. That's universal principles. That's Martin Luther King. That's Rosa Parks. That's all of the great people that did whatever they had to do to be known. And that's, he says, not everybody make it to that stage. That's the moral. Gilligan challenged him on that and said, you only use boys because girls, we react on our, feelings and things like that. We probably would have gave different answers. So that's all she did. That's the story. Then you got CBT, and we're almost at the end. I know, and I'll send this to y'all. CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. That was made by Aaron Beck. He also used the ABC model, which is in REBT, which used to be RET. But yeah, I'm sending all of this to y'all after. I'm gonna put my email in here and y'all email me and I'll email it to you. He used the ABC model, which challenges people irrational thoughts. So he was the creator of CBT, also Meckenbaum too, because he was all about stress inoculation. But what happens in CBT a lot, like MDD, major depressive disorder, you will use CBT. You will use CBT for personality disorders. Like they ask what technique or what you would use. When we finish this, do y'all mind emailing me so I can just send it to you? Because I won't be able to save it. But I promise I'll get it over to you. Everybody know who studied with me before. I got you. Challenging maladaptive behaviors. But when he used the ABC method, it goes in order. So first it have to be an activating event. Something have to have happened for you to start to think the way that you think. So whatever happened to you, for an example, if I got a divorce, I believe I got so it goes from A, that's the active event. It's going to go to B next, which will be the behavior I would give off after that activating event. The behavior that I'm giving off is he divorced me because I was fat. I just knew I wasn't good enough and he and things like that. So that's my belief, right? What comes after my belief? C, consequence. If I believe that, then because I'm like that, I'm gonna just go to the bar and sleep with anybody I want to. Because he don't care, I don't care, I don't care no more. That's my consequence. So what happens after that? We got to go to D. I need to dispute all of that. And that's when the counselor comes in and start to dispute your irrational thinking. How are you gonna like, is that what you think you are? That's when that confrontation come in to call them out on their stuff. So I'm gonna dispute all of that. And then next thing you know, I'm gonna have a new feeling. And that's when it becomes E. I'm gonna have a new emotion and I rechange my maladaptive thinking. And that's what CBT does. CBT/REBT. I know all the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. But that's by Aaron Beck. So when you see CBT, REBT, RET, that's all Aaron Beck. Okay? I'm gonna send it. No, I lied. He just CBT. Ellis, REBT. But he also used the ABC method. They work together, just so you know. Sorry about that. So REBT was rational emotive behavior therapy, and that's when you change that irrational thinking. But he's going to use the ABC model that Beck came up with. Everything that I just said. Okay? Y'all got it? I didn't confuse you, right? They work together, cognitive behavior people. Also with the cognitive behavior was Eric Berne, and he talked about transactional analysis. And actually his parent adult child is nothing but the superego, ego, and id. That's what they say. Okay. He talked about conversation. He's a communicator, the communication. It depends on how you give the communication off. And he was known for that book, I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay. So that's mainly what he's known for. Then reality therapy, aka choice therapy. That's by William Glasser. I love this because this make people aware of all the things that they're doing wrong and trying to blame other things for. So reality therapy puts people in the place where they know that they are responsible for how their life is going. Like it's nobody else's fault but yours. Okay? This helps people take personal responsibility for the things that they're going through, why things are not coming out the way that they want them to. So in this therapy, it's more of a confrontation is used here a lot in a healthy way. So for an example, confrontation would be something like, nobody liked me. My whole life, people always just went against me. You really believe nobody like you? Yeah, nobody like me. Give me an example. And that's calling them out, calling a bluff, right? In reality therapy, they said there's 5 basic needs. It's belonging, power, freedom, fun, and survival. Okay. This is one of the biggest things. And I kind of did this with my coworker today. She said, because I always ask those existential questions, the big life questions, like what's y'all long-term goal? That's just me. And she said she want to be financial stable before 50. And I said, that's a good one. I said, well, there's this therapy called reality therapy. I believe her. But then I said, there's this technique called WDEP. And I think if you write it out, you can actually see where you at and where you're going. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, okay, so W would be, what do you want? And then D would be, what are you doing to get there, right? And then to challenge her with the evaluation and say, what can you do to make sure you're there? And then P would be planning. What have you planned to get you to the point where you said? And that's reality therapy. Straight to the point. Okay, what are you doing to make sure that you get to wherever you need to go? Does that make sense? We still good?
Yes, it makes
All right.
sense.
Perfect. That's reality therapy. Reality therapy is also used a lot with teenagers because they need it. So they would have, I've seen some practice questions. It'll be a scenario about a teenager come to therapy. He say he's failing. He's doing this. What therapy would you reality? Get yourself together. Are you gonna be a dropout? Then there's person-centered, which I absolutely start to love. Carl Rogers, y'all. Carl, I have a whole different outlook. He's humanistic, Maslow humanistic, existential humanistic, Gestalt is humanistic. All of those are all about those questions, like what can you do? But I look at Carl Rogers totally different. Carl Rogers felt like nobody can do wrong. He was like every bit of a God-fearing man, basically. His father was a pastor. So he believed that you can't do no wrong. That's why he's so big on that unconditional positive regard and genuineness and empathy and things like that, because he's a man of God, actually, and feel like everybody has a second chance. So that's why person-centered therapy, that the therapist does not take the role that is major for counselors to just be there, to be congruent, like basically give them real life actions, right? To be congruent is to actually act out how you feel. So if the client is talking about something that's really upsetting to them, get upset with them, basically is what he's saying. Be congruent, because he wants, the whole idea of this therapy is for them to feel like to be in a non-judgmental area, to feel like they're talking to a friend. That's what he's all about. It's like talking to a friend. We just talking it out. You're gonna figure it out, but I'm gonna be here as somebody that you can voice your problems to. You always have a second chance. I don't care what you did. I feel for you. I have empathy for you. And that's what Carl Rogers is about. And I love that. So, of course, like I said, the client is the expert. We're not sitting there. We're not a teacher or anything in there. We're just literally there to be a friend. We're there to listen to them. I always say this is the godly type therapy. Like there's no judgment. And things like that. Everybody having a second chance. So that's where you get the unconditional positive regard, empathy, congruence, self-actualization. And that's person-centered therapy. Person-centered, client-centered therapy. Second. Oh, sorry, guys. And then we get to family therapy, and that's your Bowens, and this is the end. But a great thing to remember with Murray Bowens, all of this is family systems. This would be like something within a whole nother meeting. This would be a whole session by itself. But Bowen was big on the emotional unit of the family. So he talked about differentiation of self, and differentiation of self just basically mean that I love my family, but I do my own thing. Like my family does this. I'm not really with whatever they do, but I love them and I'm still connected to them. It's just I can go and do something different if I want. They go to this church, I'm gonna go to this church. Or they listen to this music, but I listen to this. That's all differentiation of self is. Triangulation is when a third person come in to balance out two people getting into it with each other. For an example, if the mom and dad is always bickering, then Charlie, their son, is going to get sick to throw all of that off. And now their focus is going to be together, but on one person. It's just a triangulation. And then genograms. Anybody did a genogram before?
I did
Yeah.
one. It took me 4 days to do.
Yes.
Yep. In
Yes.
grad
So,
school. But it
yep.
was powerful to
It
see like all the
was.
patterns and
It was.
the little like coalitions and
You can
like
see that your
me-
grandma had mental
man,
health problems and
yes.
Papa drunk and his uncle
Substance
drunk.
use, incarceration. It was
You can
yeah.
see who was in jail. It's powerful. But genograms, that's all Bowen. That's all Bowen. Anything you see with a genogram, that's his family systems theory. Okay. Family system theory is the umbrella. What goes underneath it, it would be Bowen, who is more about, I think he's about, I know he's an emotional unit, but I think he's structural or strategic. It's strategic, structural, and something else. Then there's Mnuchin, he's structural. So every time you see structural, that's talking about boundaries, right? Boundaries within a family. Enmeshment means a family that does not have boundaries. That's people that's like, you know how you can see a mom and a daughter that's basically sisters? It's like no boundaries. The mom all in the business, the daughter all in the mom business. That's enmeshment. That means the boundaries are blurry. They have none. Then it's disengagement. That's when they too strict to the point I don't even want to talk to her. Like, I don't even want to talk, whatever. So that's disengagement. But in the family system, he believed there is hierarchies. So in family therapy, he probably would allow like the kids to say who's in charge, who's first, things like that. So that's when he talk about the hierarchy. He talks about that. So anything you see about hierarchy, he's talking about structuring the family. That would be Mnuchin. Haley, strategic. She's all about, have y'all ever heard of paradoxical intentions or prescriptions? Anybody know what that means? No?
No, I haven't heard of that.
That's okay. So a paradoxical intention would be when the client tells when the counselor tells the client to do something that's exaggerated, okay? To stop something. For an example, if you tell your child, all right, now go clean the room, and they don't want to clean the room, so they stump up the stairs, and you can't stand that they always stumping up the stairs, right? So to try to stop it, you would tell them something that is like unbelievable. So you'll say, go and clean your room. And while you at it, stump up the stairs as hard as you can and slam the door. They'll look at you like you crazy and they wouldn't do it. That's a paradoxical intention. For a client, you told them, your child is doing drugs and you're okay with them doing it. They're like, yeah, but I told them they don't need to do it. You say, you know what? Your homework tonight, you should take your child to the drug dealer and buy it and roll up the weed and smoke with them. And that kind of like let them know what it does is bring the attention to what you're doing is crazy. So when you throw that out at them, it's like they realize what they're doing is horrible. Now, you cannot do that if your client is homicidal or suicidal, okay? But that's a paradoxical technique, a paradoxical intention, and a prescription. The prescription would be what I said, like go take your daughter to the drug dealer, buy it, roll it up, smoke it with her. You know she's doing drugs and you still allowing her to just be in the house and do whatever, but then you come back to counseling and want to fix it. Well, I have to show you what it is, kind of like a form of confrontation, but it's called paradoxical. So that's done in strategic family. The person who was over all of that, I want to say it was Viktor Frankl. He brought that up. Or yeah, he brought up it. Reframing is literally like building a house. You're reframing everything, the family system. Um, Double blind communication is when two people don't know what's going on. They talk about homeostasis a lot. I don't see it in here, but that's why I said that would be a whole different, I'll just do a whole nother video, a whole nother group on that. But homeostasis is what the family is used to, like un unwritten rules. Like for an example, everybody know that daddy drinks at 8, and when he get drunk, he starts to fuss at everybody, right? So when 8 hit and he start to drink, the family just know I'm gonna go in my room, we gonna disperse, nobody gonna bother him. The homeostasis in the house is that's their unseen rule. The goal for family therapy is to break that. And what happens is one person who do not want to break it, and it would be the dad. And I'll get more into it when I do another study group. They got Whitaker. Whitaker is experimental. Um, he's more of like the playful type in therapy. And then Statir, Virginia, she's more on the congruent side, self-esteem, and the personal growth. So more of a like a communication kind of therapy. But those are the family system theories that I can do all by a whole nother group. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? I hope it was good.
It was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, you always do a great job of explaining this stuff.
Thank you.
When is
Thank
your
you.
next next session?
I have it up already. I was doing help in relationships. What day I have that on? Now I'm gonna be freed up more on the weekends. But before we go, let's do before we go, because I know it's 9 o'clock. I probably talked y'all head off. But I had some little questions really quick. And let's see if whatever we talked about, we got it. And we could just do the true and false. I mean, we can just do these. Okay?
Oh,
And I think it's only 10
okay.
before true and false. So, according to Erikson, the key conflict in the stage of adolescence is
She conflicts those.
Would that be
adolescent.
B?
That's B in identity, growth, confusion.
Anybody else?
I'll go with B.
Okay, so let's talk it out. So we know integrity versus despair, that happened later on in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was like 65 and up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I did with my paper. That was like 65 and up. And then identity versus role confusion, that's right there in adolescence. Generativity versus stagnation, that was middle adulthood. And then autonomy versus shame and doubt, when was that?
That's like teen
Age, isn't it?
At the very beginning. And
Yeah.
that's how we know. So the answer is B.
Yeah.
Good job. I got the answers right here. All right. 2. Which of the following best describe the sensory motor stage of Piaget cognitive development theory? A, children begin to understand that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen, object permanence. B, children develop the ability to think abstractly and solve hypothetical problems. C, children can understand conservations and classifying objects into categories. Or D, children begin to use symbolic thinking and engage in pretend play.
A.
A, yes. A is all about that sensory motor stage. That's when they're able to put things in their mouth. And remember peekaboo? If I do peekaboo, they really believe that we're gone. The children develop in the ability to think abstractly. What stage was that?
Abstract is when that's like the
That's the last one, isn't it?
That's the last stage. And what
Yeah.
was it? Formal.
Formal, yeah.
Yep. Children can understand conservation. When was concrete? You remember I said my oldest son knew he had less money than my baby?
Oh, the concept.
The concrete stage.
Concrete.
That's when they're
Yeah.
7 to 11. And then, of course, the symbolic thinking and pretend play, that was pre-operational.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we didn't really go over, but do y'all know Maslow?
Yes.
Yes.
With the
Yeah.
pyramid trying to reach self-actualization?
And you won't get there if you don't have those basic needs, which is
Exactly.
safety. That's C.
Exactly. If I don't
Safety
have
needs
no
come
food or
first.
no water, I
Mhm.
don't want to have a house. I can't afford a house if I can't have food. So, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which of the following needs must be fulfilled first? for an individual to pursue self-actualization, which is the last stage, what needs to happen first?
D.
Safety net.
D, physiological needs. I need to
Physiological
have
needs, yeah.
food, water, okay?
Shelter.
Yes, and then I can go to the next step. Good job. 4, according to Kohlberg's stages of moral development, individuals in post-conventional levels of moral reasonings are guided primarily by
Obeying.
Obeying the rules.
remember we at post.
Oh no,
Post-conventional is
universal. It's
not,
C.
yeah.
There you
Universal.
go.
It's
Yep,
universal ethical
universal
principles
ethical
and justice.
principles and justice. That is who?
Martin
That's
Luther
your
King,
Martin Luther Kings
Rosa
and
Parks.
and
Oh,
he
that's right. That's
said,
post.
and he said, not everybody make it. 5, which of the following developmental tasks is most associated with the middle adulthood stage according to Erikson theory? The middle adult.
Would that be form
So let's go through them. A, developing trust and
I want to go with
security.
yeah.
What stage was that? Trust and security.
That's the first stage.
That's infancy. Remember, that's a baby, so that's not middle
Trust and
adult.
mistrust.
Yeah.
Forming intimate relationships.
Isn't that like 20 through 40?
That's intimacy versus isolation, right? And then you have C, generating a sense of purpose and contributing to the next generation. That's generativity
Versus
versus
stagnation.
And then D. So when is generativity versus stagnation? Is that
Like
early
65.
adulthood or
No, it's
No,
like 65.
that's the late adulthood.
Ain't that like four,
Yeah.
It's
40?
like 65.
40
Yeah,
to 65.
yeah.
that's like
We're
40?
contemplating life. Yeah.
Because you already passed intimacy. Now you got
Mm.
children and you're trying to build on it. So that's middle adulthood. 40 to almost 50, that's in the middle, right? Because forming intimacy, that's your 20s. Developing trust, that's infancy. And then achieving independence and autonomy, that's you just learn how to be potty trained. So it would be C. Bobley. We didn't talk about Bobley, but do y'all know about Bobley and bonding?
Yes, the mom with the wire mesh.
Yeah, he's
Well, that was
That
Harry.
attachment. The attachment.
Attachment theory. Yes, he's big on attachment theory to the point he said if there's a secured attachment in an infant, it is most likely to result in what? If I have a secured attachment, I know this one person that I trust gonna always come back for me. What's
So
gonna happen?
they have a healthy relationship.
I'm
Healthy
gonna
and
have a
healthy
healthy relationship. Yes. All right, we got 3 more. Where am I? Okay, 7. Which of the following is a characteristic of Piaget's concrete operational stage of cognitive development? Concrete C. Concrete conservation.
Yeah, using
B.
That's
C,
D.
C, C. Always remember C. Concrete and conservation. That's how I remember it.
Oh, okay. How you remember it. But the answer would be B.
The answer would be B.
Yeah.
Yep. 8. A 25-year-old individual who is working on establishing close, intimate relationships with others in Erikson's psychosocial stage is in what stage? Y'all know.
C.
C versus isolation.
Hello. 9. Which of the following best describes identity diffusion, which is confusion, according to Erikson? Remember what stage that was? Role confusion. I want to be like everybody.
That's going to be the process of exploring different roles, but remaining uncertain about one's identity.
There you go. Yep. That's them teenagers still trying to figure it out. But yes,
Yes.
it's A. And then last one, 10. A child in a pre-operational stage of Piaget's theory is likely to exhibit pre-operational. Remember, it's all about me.
B.
Egocentrism.
Egocentrism.
Hello. And that's it. I'll send this to y'all too. I just made this with AI.
That's great.
This is, I know it focused a lot on Erikson, but it has some other things down here that you can work on, which I thought was really good. Here, it give you the explanations because I asked them to give me multiple choice true false, which is didactic, was teaching. It's what's that called? Dichotomous. That means two, okay? Just so you
Okay.
know. That means
Yeah.
true and false. Dichotomous.
Okay. Oh.
I.
Okay, so
And
are
then
you doing Zoom this weekend? Anytime?
what date I have on here? Anybody see? And did y'all email me so I can send y'all all of this? And even outside of this, I have this so you can have the explanation too. I'm telling y'all I'm a researcher. I pulled this out too so you can have the explanations. Oh no, that's not it. The explanation of where I got the test from.
So you're doing it Monday at 8:30, helping relationships.
Yes, and I
don't.
could do it more this week because I'm on spring break. So I'm gonna throw another one in there.
Okay.
I think next I'm gonna do social cultural. The next one that I'm doing Monday is helping relationships. Then I'll do social cultural, group, career, assessments, research, professional orientation, and probably ethics in that order.
So we have a lot of people testing.
Test on a, so this week we can go at it hard. I'm here. I'm on spring break. So I can do probably one a day.
Oh, that
And
would be
then
nice. Do you just put it in events or something?
yes, I put it in the events thing. And like I tell people, it's not on the Facebook page because sometimes the videos are very hard. Let me stop sharing and stop recording. The videos are very hard for me to upload. So I had to create, I am not a